Let's hop in. I see everybody kind of cascading in as we speak. So guys, in typical fashion, I got excited yesterday, kind of jammed together both trainings I had scheduled for this week. So I'm going to touch on some of that stuff, but really what I want to do is today's our last blueprint training day. The blueprints are getting delivered to you guys early next week. And so you guys are going to start going out and scheduling these meetings. I want to walk you through the step-by-step what's in the blueprint so you know what you can see, and we can talk about how to talk about those things to get in front of your realtor partners and really talk about our overall strategy. So first thing I want to talk about, again, from a strategy perspective, and if it sounds like I'm beating a dead horse on this, it's because I thought I addressed it last time we did this, and then I think people really went out and kind of either did their own thing or the feedback was this is the part they struggled with, okay? Two things. There are two ways to present the blueprints. The best way, the way it is intended, is if you can have a one-on-one meeting with somebody, sit down with them, talk to them about their business, and then pick the one thing from this issue of the blueprint that you think speaks to them and their situation best and use that. Second best way, one-on-one conversation, where you pick the one thing that if you don't know what they need that you're most comfortable teaching, teach it. Third way, and again, this will allow you to get in front of more people. Keep in mind, you get to buy more blueprint magazines. They're amazingly inexpensive for what they are. I think they're $4 each. Is to do it in small or medium-sized groups, where then you're obviously presenting on the one or two things that you think are either most relevant to that group or things you're most comfortable teaching. The idea behind this, whether it's small group or big group, is not to go through the entire magazine. To me, to effectively teach everything in this magazine, it's a 4-hour training minimum. And that's not what we're sitting down to go through. So if you try to do the whole magazine in 45 minutes, you end up training on nothing and you're really just flipping pages in front of somebody. Questions about that before we dive in? I'm going to share my screen and really walk you guys through it.
I have a question real quick, Mark.
Sure.
I agree with you. I'm going in from I need a little more confidence in teaching it. So I'm a little unsteady on my feet going in, right? I tried it in front of a couple agents and I think I just didn't hit the mark. I am going to take up though, I'm going to try Lunch and Learn at the Association. It's a very specific question for you because I think that I'll get a lot of new realtor attention or realtors who are struggling and really focused, and then that might spread some word and I might get a little more serious with the realtor base. Follow me so far? So it's going to be at the association in front of realtors. I'll host it. It's there. I've talked to her. It can happen. I'm unsteady on my feet and I feel not confident about it. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I don't want to blow it in front of my audience either.
Yeah. So yes, I do. Find people to practice it in front of first.
Okay.
Right. And so whether it's your realtors or your friends, your family, take it seriously. Put on the clothes, get in front of a room, stand up, like give yourself the butterflies first and go in and do it. Two things are going to happen. One is you're going to realize you know this stuff much better than you need to teach it. You're certainly going to know it better than your audience. So you'll gain some confidence. Two is you'll realize that if you make a mistake, it's fine. You just keep going. Right. And by the way, when you get in front of that big audience, guys, this is some real keys for role playing. Do not start over. Do not say, wait a minute, let me go again. You're in it. You're going. Keep fighting through it. Build those muscles. Right. The reason why I can get in front of a room is not because I don't make mistakes. It's because when I make a mistake, I don't care and I keep going and then no one remembers them. All right. Yesterday, I blew everything we did in the training. And I think we still got pretty good high marks of people. I had people reaching out saying how great it was. Right. If I didn't stop, you didn't know. Right. You only know we screwed up because I told you. Okay.
Yeah. You do well with that. You do well. You do well.
Right.
I have a quick suggestion for Stacy and anybody else that's doing a small group. So I did that with the last one, and I went to my closing attorney's office and I had a small group of realtors, like a little realtor roundtable. He talked about a relevant title, issue and answered questions, did a little dog and pony show. I had realtors from different companies. Some already work with me, some I want to work with me. So that's kind of a nice thing. They got to have the lovey fuzzy thing together, but try, if you can, book somebody else that can also speak. So like an insurance agent, a title agent, appraiser, attorney, something like that. That may help you too, to feel less like you're just in the spotlight. But get with me and let's practice. You can role play with me anytime you want. Love you.
Thank you.
All right. So here's our cover of the blueprint. Here are our topics, right? You see them right here. Power of Ford. So keep in mind, if you're really good at loving and teaching people how to have those initial icebreaker conversations, how to prospect without the ick, Ford conversations, March Madness contest. It's a great way for you to gather information from people. We have some prizes for that. It's always fun to fill out a bracket. You can pick your favorite teams. By the way, there is almost no skill involved in picking a bracket. It is one of the most lucky things in the world. No one's ever gotten one perfect. Have some fun with it. Strategies are 8-day clear to close. The flow system stuff that we talked about yesterday and kind of figuring out where to invest in your business, how to set a budget for it, how to make those good decisions. Power of having a morning routine. And we'll talk about our book of the quarter, our go-giver stuff, and then some charm and pop buys we're going to go through as we walk through it. So this is our coverage. What's going like. These will be in it next week. Table of contents. You will see there's a lot of pages. Letter from Rich. Personal development, the player versus victim training stuff that we've all done here together. By the way, this one, if you're comfortable teaching it, is amazing. 2 resources. One is we have recorded trainings we can send you that I've done here on player versus victim. Also, Fred Kaufman, Kofman, LinkedIn Talks, 15 minutes, super concise on YouTube. You can steal it. You can do it verbatim. I steal it. I steal it when I do these presentations. This blows people's minds, okay? It blows people's minds if you're comfortable doing that one. We're going to go over our strategy.
Mark, there's a typo.
Where?
Right
Oh,
there,
this isn't the
player
final.
versus victim.
Yeah, Mark is using an old version that we caught that typo. It's all updated in the actual printed one. So thanks for
Awesome.
catching that, Lisa, but we got that one too.
Oh, Courtney. I was like, that's the voice of God. I don't see her. Okay. And then 20 pages of strategy stuff and then mortgage loan product. Yes, I'm using one that was sent out a much earlier version. So that's sorry. But thank you for catching that. We're going to send it next time. Send it to Lisa for editing. A letter from our CEO. Here's Rich, looking very handsome. And then this is a letter talking about the Princeton Promise and the 8-day clear to close our initiatives. Really cool stuff that I think separates us. Again, if you like talking about it, if you're passionate about those things, talk about them. If you're not, don't, right? There's the coolest thing about the blueprint, guys. There's so much in here that if you are not comfortable talking about something or there's something actually you just don't care about, maybe you think the Princeton Promise is stupid. Cool. Don't talk about it. Maybe you think it's the coolest thing in the world like I do and you want to talk about it all the time. But pick the things that you're most excited about that you want to touch on. Okay. Remember, you're not reading this in front of them. They're not going to be like, wait, tell me about that Princeton Promise. You're going to flip to the part of this that you want to go to. So you know what's in it. They don't. When they take it home, they can call you the next day and ask about the Princeton Promise if they think it's cool. Okay. Anybody here have any questions about our Princeton Promise, the story, how it works, presenting it, anything like that? Everybody's been through it. Personal development. Again, remember, this will be 2 pages, but the power of a morning routine. We talked about this. You know what we have. We have our, if you're interested in our Princeton selling system guide that's on the website, or we can send it out to you. We have our Princeton 9 for our morning routines, what it does for us. We've also worked with many of you guys over time to build out your own custom morning routine. I will say that I get most of my productive things done for the day by 10 a.m. every day. It's a wonderful feeling. It gives you freedom throughout the rest of your day. There's so much power in the morning routine and doing things before others wake up. So you see that personal development, Princeton morning routine. Here is the morning routine we suggest: gratitude, positive reading, affirmations, visualizations, 2 handwritten note cards. So great for prospecting, especially for our realtor partners. Establish your groundwork. Okay. We did our go-giver training, right? If you love this, by the way, cool thing. So my friend Matt Benelli, who runs the Ninja Selling Podcast, put out in the Ninja Selling Podcast group, where there are thousands and thousands of realtors in this group. I'm lucky enough to be in it. I don't know if they let everybody mortgage in it or just because I've been on the podcast. He said, give me a book that you read multiple times, was the topic for this week. I would say, I'm pulling a number out of my butt here, but I'm probably pretty good on this. 25 to 30% of the people who listed books, or even a book, listed this book. Realtors love this book, right? I give out copies of it all the time. It's a great book. Why do you think realtors love this book? Who's read this book and has some suggestions why realtors might love it?
It's a quick and easy read.
Well, that's one. What else?
Reminds them.
What
Reminds them
of what?
of easy things to do that are a big impact.
Yeah, it makes it all seem so easy, right? Hey, you're going to run into people in the world, put their interest above your own, Do it for as many people as possible. And by the way, the amount of influence you have is about putting their interests above your own. And every realtor in their heart wants to be that person. The desperation and the commission breath and the stress, they lose sight of these things as they go. And this is a great reminder of like, actually, remember all the reasons you wanted to become a realtor? You wanted to help people buy houses. You wanted to help as many people as possible. You love creating value for other people. You want people to like you. Here's the way to do it. It's just a really powerful reminder for people that, by the way, this gets them back to the parts of the job they like, right? So it feels really good. It's a great book to give out. We can go over those different principles. Again, another really cool thing, you message Bob Berg, you tag Bob Berg on LinkedIn and the realtor that you reviewed this with, I'm telling you, he's going to respond. He will say, hey, Bob, I just gave so-and-so your book. So excited for them to read it. I talked to him. I talked about Principle X and they loved it. Bob will say, oh my God, Mark, thank you. You will look so cool because it will look like you and Bob are friends. And he's never let me down on it. Okay. It's a really cool thing to do. Nicole, how many times have you tagged Bob in something and had him respond? Half a dozen? Yeah.
Yep.
So the Go Giver, QR code, different things we talked about for our Go Giver. By the way, this is outside of the actual Go Giver stuff for some things that you can, insights from the book. Very, very cool stuff. Walks you through it. If the Go Giver is your thing, this is an easy part of this to go with. So now you're going, if Go Giver, you want it to be your thing, or you have a realtor you think will really dig it, blueprint and copy of the book, bring it to the meeting. Now you're a hero, right? It's awesome. Okay. 5 laws of stratospheric success. Here they are from the Go Giver. Why is consistent prospecting so difficult, right? If you have a realtor that doesn't have enough business, what is the only reason a realtor doesn't have enough business?
They're not staying in front of the sphere.
Yeah, they're not spending time prospecting, or they're really, really bad at prospecting. But 99 times out of 100, it's actually just they're just not doing it. Okay. Why don't people prospect? They'd rather be doing almost anything else. Why is that? It feels icky. They feel like they're bothering people. They tell themselves a bunch of stories about it. Great. The Go Giver and this stuff here helps them work through it. I think this is for newer realtors or agents that are struggling. I would really lean into the Go Giver and the prospecting part of this. This is like basics 101 stuff they're not getting from their current group. They know they need to be doing this stuff. If you look like an expert here, you will be lifting those people up. Okay, really like this for either newer agents and or if you see somebody who's doing it for 20 years, but they're having their bad year. Hey man, time to get back to basics, right? Why is McDonald's successful? They deliver more than you expect. They do it for lots of people. That's your job as a realtor. Let's figure out how to do it. Okay.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah.
don't forget, just another suggestion, team leads are also, sometimes we stay away from some of these like high stratospheric agents because they do a lot of business, but they're probably, a lot of them are working with a team. And team leads are always struggling for content, and sometimes you might be able to deliver a message even better than they can, and they'll get you in front of their team, and they enjoy, they appreciate, bringing people in a new voice to talk to their people.
So you said sometimes you might be able to do it better than them. I'm going to ask you an honest question. How many different team leaders have you worked with over the last 20 years?
I have no clue. 20.
A lot.
Yeah.
How many of them do you think would do a better job than you teaching this stuff?
Yeah, I measured my language, but you're right. I probably do a better job than all of them.
They're so bad at it. And by the way, it's not their fault. No one's ever taught them. No one's ever worked with them on it. They're not getting any feedback. They're not living in a world where their team feels comfortable even telling them that they're not good at it. Their team doesn't know what to do. There is so little infrastructure in real estate because there's so little money for the companies in real estate. Agents have all the power and all the money that they cannot afford or don't have the time to invest in their agents for the most part. They're not getting this stuff anywhere else. And by the way, if you're thinking in your head, like, well, I know one group that really does it, they're the only ones. And by the way, Carolina One, famous for their training program, ninja all the way. You bump into their realtors, you see them with the scorecard. Every time I get in front of those agents in Carolina One, they think I'm Jesus. So whatever they're doing over there, it's not enough, right? And it's not because I'm great. It's because no one's doing it for him. And no, by the way, Ken's very good at it. He cares. He's very good in his delivery. He understands what to say, but he's been practicing. So if you don't feel like you're good at it, this is just about practicing it, get the reps in. Don't worry about being great at this the first time you do it. If you do this every quarter, we get a blueprint out, 3 years from now, you'll be one of the best sales trainers in your area. It's just like, you just got to get the reps. Mark, you're so good at it. Well, I've probably done 2,000 training classes over the last 20 years. I better be pretty good at it by this point, right? Like it's the reps, guys, okay? Focusing on detaching from the outcome for your prospecting, great. Player versus victim section. I think everybody here has been through our player versus victim training. Again, if you want to go through this, steal from Fred Kaufman. His LinkedIn 15 minutes is amazing, okay? Every time I watch it, I feel like it changes me a little bit. When I send it to other people, they tell me it changed their life. It's just that good. When I do my presentation, I just steal his, okay? Go steal it, okay? What we focus on expands. If this is one of your favorite sections, if you're a science person, if you have a realtor that is very into their mindset stuff and their affirmations and their different things, right? And they're that you can tell you have somebody who's a spirit of spiritual in nature and they're into these things. This is really great. It adds some science to the things they may already know. What we focus on expands, right? How many red cars did you guys see last time you were on the road? You have no idea. If I told you today, I would give you $20 to just count the red cars on your way home, you'd know exactly how many. Our brains are filtering out all of the information that is not useful to us or doesn't perceive as being useful to us. And by the way, our brains don't know positive versus negative, right? So if we say, if we say to people, don't the golf is the best thing, right? Don't hit it in the sand trap, don't hit it in the sand trap. The ball goes in the sand trap because our brains don't know the difference. What we focus on expands. So how we program ourselves, right, is essential. So those positive affirmations are really teaching our brain to look for the opportunities and the situations that are going to deliver those outcomes, right? So if we're being negative and we're like, oh, it's so hard out here, it's so hard out here, it's so hard here, all our brain is going to do is search for information that confirms the fact that we're thinking about how hard things are. If we think the strong are going to survive, the strong are going to survive, the strong are going to survive, then your brain is going to scan and look for opportunities for you to show strength that will make a difference in your business. And those little programming differences can be huge for people. By the way, this is feel-good stuff, right? Now, some realtors are going to roll their eyes at you because they're going to be cynical and not that cool about it all. Most will think this is awesome. You have to know your audience, know who you're talking to, okay? By the way, sometimes the people that are most cynical in front of you are the ones who start doing it when they leave, right? Sometimes that's just their own insecurity in that moment, and they go home and start practicing, and they'll call you back like, it changed my life. I've had that happen too. So flipping the script, right? How do you change those negative thoughts to positive thoughts? By the way, all of this is about positive mindset, right? The go-giver stuff, player versus victim, RAS. This is all about changing our mindset in a difficult time, right? And guys, you guys are going to have these in your mailbox next week. So you can take pictures if you want, but don't feel obligated to do it. It's all very straightforward. And it's all going to be things you know. Princeton Mortgage, March Madness. How many of you guys don't know what I'm talking about when I say fill out a bracket or March Madness? Awesome. Fred's lying. Okay. Guys, every year the NCAA committee picks, based on record and previous achievements, the teams that are going to have a chance to win the national championship in basketball. With me so far? They pick, it used to be 64 teams, now it's 68 teams. They have 8 teams play in to get into the bigger 64 team bracket. And so you have a bracket of single elimination games, 64 teams. And it makes it pretty random because you have these small teams from all these weird, if you win your conference, you automatically get in. So you'll have a team like Texas Christian or whatever, that's not even a good example. Like here in Charleston, we have our Charleston basketball team will probably get, like we have like Elon, for instance, is a team that like college, most of you guys have probably never heard of in North Carolina and Charlotte. They make the tournament on a regular basis. They may get to play Duke in the first round, and sometimes in single elimination, those teams win. So people get very interested in following this, right? Because anybody can win in a one-game situation, and they're all going to try and win the championship. When you have these 64 teams, people like to, before the tournament starts, pick who they think is going to win each game, and then pick who they think is going to ultimately be the national champion. And so we have a tournament to see who can pick the best bracket or the one that becomes the most accurate, right? And this is something that huge amounts of people participate in. In fact, Quicken Loans had a thing for a long time where they worked with Warren Buffett, and if you got a perfect bracket, Quicken Loans would give you $1 billion. No one ever got it. That's how hard it is to get it right. That's how random the tournament actually is, okay? So really fun stuff to do with your realtors if you're into it. If you're not into it, don't worry about promoting it, but you should still, by the way, fill out a bracket It makes the tournament much more fun, and it makes for some magical Thursdays and Fridays in March, which are a good time. So this is kind of what that bracket looks like. By the way, if you need a visualization, right? All the teams go in, and you're picking the winners and who's going to play each other throughout the whole bracket. Most of the time, if you're like me, by the time you get to the Final Four, none of your teams are left, because I do not win March Madness tournaments at all. All right, guys. So that's that. Additional strategies. The value of your business equal to your database. We did the training on this last week. Okay. If I had to tell you what I think the biggest opportunity is for realtors, if they are willing to work out of a computer and sit down and they have the attention span to do it, is helping them develop a database of their sphere of influence. For you guys who have been to some of my bigger realtor trainings before, you should see the voice. Here's what we go. I go, how big is your sphere of influence? I go, how big is your database? I usually get two answers. I don't have one, or I have 5,000 people in it. What do you do with it? Maybe I send an email every now and then. Maybe I don't, or I pay somebody to send an email for me. Great. How many of those people, this is my question, simple question, blows people's mind, that if I called them today and I said, who is your favorite realtor, that you're reasonably confident they would say you? And you just see their souls drop out of their bodies, right? People come like, I have 6, 8, 12, 15. I'm talking about like your mom, your dad. Are you sure? I'm not even sure they'd recommend me. I have a cousin who's a realtor that's been doing it longer. There's massive insecurity in this moment. By the way, when you create that anxiety from somebody, what do they want? They want help to fix it. When I explained to them, your job as a realtor is not to sell houses. Your job as a realtor is to have 200 people that know you, like you, trust you, and are in such good flow with you that when they want to buy or sell a house, or they hear that somebody else is buying or selling a house, your name's the first one they think to recommend and they feel comfortable doing it. That is the $1,000 an hour work. You know, I know buying and selling houses is not $1,000 an hour work, because a lot of top realtors pay another realtor $15 an hour to do it, right? When realtors get super successful, they have somebody else do the open house, they have somebody else doing the paperwork, somebody else doing the contracts. They sometimes have somebody else showing the houses, right? They're on vacation, they're traveling here, whatever else it is. They have a little partner, whatever it is. The $1,000 an hour work is having a number of people in your community, how many you have, 200 is the goal, know you, like you, trust you, and you're in flow with them. And this is where it comes back to the CRM training that Courtney did yesterday, right? What is your, so if I said to you as a realtor, hey, the realtor's like, hey, I want to double my business this year. Let's write them out. And by the way, you want to ever really mess with somebody, like you'll say you really care about a realtor and you think they're worth it. Cool. You have 27 people on your list. Let me call them right now. Cool. I set it up. I'm like, hey, I'm calling from, I'm a loan officer here in Charleston. We're doing a survey. We need your favorite realtor, the one that if your friend or family was buying a house that you'd recommend, who is it? And we'll call and ask and see how many of those people actually say that. It's worth it as an exercise, right? You will learn, that person will learn a lot, right? And do it that way. And so this is super powerful stuff. It changes the way people think about their job. If you were really bad at knowing the housing market in your area, but you had 200 people who knew you, liked you, trust you, and you were in flow with and thought about you every time they had to make a real estate transaction, would you still make a lot of money? Yeah, you'd figure out all the other stuff. This is the job. You know how many realtors have told me that that completely changed? I would say 80% of the realtors I say this to, they say it completely changes the way they think about their business. So if you have somebody that isn't doing something with a database or doesn't understand the value of it, this is life-changing. And then you say, cool, do you know anything about my business? I also have all the realtors in Charleston in my database, but I have 25 that need to know me, like me, trust me, and be in flow with me. So every time they hear about somebody needing a mortgage, they think of me. And so my job is those 25. By the way, I hope you're going to be in that 25 for me, right? That's why I'm here working. I'm at this meeting today, ensuring that I can count on you, that if someone calls you, you'll recommend me. You need to do it with 200 people in your area, right? And that's a very powerful lesson. So that's what we talked about last week. If you're into this, I've had a lot of success with this one. Even top realtors who are doing awesome, when we go over this, they realize they're not doing all of it, or they could be doing a whole lot more. So by the way, here is if you want to sit down with them and actually have them write it out while you're at the restaurant, here is the lines to write out their sphere of influence. And so they can write down, cool. And by the way, not how many people is fear of influence. How many people, write everyone down on this list right now that you look through your phone, go through your Facebook. Who are you like they would 100% recommend me? Go through that list. And so we have 90 spots on here. By the way, if you get a realtor that can fill out all 90 and they're not crazy, but they actually, it's really, they have more than 90, do whatever you can to make that realtor your friend. They're going to be busy. They're going to be successful. They're crushing it. Okay. So this is that whole section here. Any questions about this section or any of the stuff that we've gone over so far?
I just want to say I love it. I'm super excited.
Nikki, you have your hand up? Nope. All right.
Good.
You're muted.
Okay,
You're-
so probably because I haven't been here and I just came back, I have called some realtors who have teams and I've asked them if I can present to them and if they would tell me whether it's something valuable they might want to share with their team.
It's awesome. What's their response been?
Yeah, they'd love to see something that might help them and help their team, because I've gotten the same feeling that you have, that they don't have enough stuff to work with their team with.
They don't. I know, like, Wes, who I don't think he's here today, is, I don't know if you guys know this, his father passed away recently. The funeral's tomorrow, so he's busy with a lot of that stuff. He's got family coming into town and things.
Mark?
He goes real quick. He goes to all of his, like, the teams he works with. He goes to their team meetings. He goes, they were a joke. He goes, they've been a joke for years. He goes, and now that I know this stuff, I help those guys look good in their meetings, and they can't wait to have me there. Right? I give them topics to go over. It's a total game changer. Right? Who said, hey, Mark, that I missed?
It was me, Mark. It's Brett.
Hey. what's up?
Hey, buddy. Yesterday you gave Nikki some advice regarding what to do in lieu of a business card. And last night, Nikki was at a meeting. And although I'm not for interruptions to your meetings, because we're always short on time, Nikki, can you take 30 seconds to tell Mark what you did last night at your meeting of realtors that has to do with the lack of business card?
So I didn't have a business card yet. So that's why I asked that question. And I went to a title company and I met with approximately 10 people, and I was the only loan officer there. The sommelier was a real estate attorney. And I was older than most of the people there and were clumsy at asking people for which form would they like to use, their LinkedIn, their Instagram, their Facebook. Instead of giving me a card, I said, I asked my training people what I should do, and they recommended this to me. And they were all like, oh, that's really smart. I like that idea. And then they went even further. They were inputting it for me because they could see that I wasn't really great. I said, I do my best. I have people who help me. And I think it's very endearing to people when you're not good at things sometimes.
Yeah.
And I got a great response, and it really helped me, and I really appreciate it. And I don't know if other people are as clumsy and as I am that it would work for them, but it worked for me, and I thank you.
And by the way, let me share something with you, because I know you're being self-deprecating with the clumsiness of it, and I understand that stuff can be difficult, right? I think I'm pretty good at it. I also, I sometimes hang out with some younger people in different ways. When they're connecting on Instagram, they literally pull up Instagram and hand their phone to the other person, have them put their name in, right? Every person kind of has their own weird, unique name. Asking somebody, by the way, they probably have some don't even remember what their username is, or by the way, they may not have their face as the picture on their social media. So it's very hard to find somebody. So I'm just like, hey, dude, put yourself in here, and then friend request me, right? And so or friend request yourself, right? So like, hey, search for yourself and shoot yourself a connection request so that we're connected. So don't be afraid to even if it's clumsy for you, it's a clumsy process. I just hand my phone to somebody, and they put their stuff in there. So by the way, also I find that builds trust too. You hand your phone to somebody, they hand it back to you. Like, it's just there's a moment there that you can build a little bit on as well. So I love that. Thank you for sharing. And yes, guys, it's 2024. The business card thing, it was effective for the time it was in. Now we have this way to actually connect to people where there's going to be a real connection and stay in flow with people. We should be using that every chance that we get. So I love it. So this is our database walkthrough. We talked about Ford conversations yesterday, right? Ford conversations, 3 to 5 minute conversations, right? It's prospecting without ever asking for anything. Let me say that again. Prospecting without ever asking for anything. Prospecting feels gross because you feel like you're calling somebody to get something from them. Now, all we're doing is calling somebody to give. Calling somebody to give the gift of ourselves, our conversation, information, asking, getting them an opportunity to talk about themselves, their lives, what's going on. And then when they do that, we're listening for clues for how we might be able to help them. Takes all of the ickiness of prospecting away. We get that go-giver mindset. We have these forward conversations. It's a way to stay in flow without ever asking for anything. The whole, by the way, the reason why ninja selling is called ninja selling, if you guys aren't familiar, is because the ninja part of it is to be full of business all the time without ever having to ask for it. That's the entire system is based on, is give and give and give. Stay in flow, stay in flow, stay in flow with, become the expert in people's lives, and then they ask you for help when they need a mortgage, as opposed to you asking them to refer you. It takes all of the ickiness out of prospecting. And that's what the entire ninja system is based on. So we have these Ford conversations here. The Princeton perfect flow. So guys, stop me, by the way, if you have questions. If you get to a place where you're like, that's the thing I want to teach, but I have a question about how to teach it better, stop me. You're probably not the only one. Flow systems, right? We have all, what are our, again, I say this to you guys because it's important for you to be able to share. Flow systems that we have at Princeton. These blueprints are flow. It's flow that we're going to have quarterly meetings, right? We have our 13 by 30. We have our pre-approval journeys for our borrowers and our realtors. We have our in-process emails that go out for each stage of the mortgage process. We have our social media things that Dan does that ask us to post so we can stay and flow people on our social media. We have our weekly Saturday emails that go out to our realtors, right? We do them for recruiting loan officers as well. We have all this flow. Now you ask a realtor, how much flow is built into your business? None. How much more business do you think you'd be able to get if you had some flow systems built out where you were staying top of mind with all the people that might ever want to use you for a real estate transaction? Honestly, Mark, that would be amazing. I've never thought of it that way. Here are some completely free ways to do flow. Social media, connect with your sphere of influence, keep those things top of mind, teach them through social, making your weekly phone calls, having your Ford conversations. And then, by the way, do you do a weekly email? Maybe you do a monthly email out to your crew. Maybe you send direct mailers. By the way, a lot of realtors do actually invest in postcards, right? You probably have some realtors that send you postcards. They're highly effective. Why is a postcard so effective? It's because people can read it and get all the information while they're walking in from the mailbox to the trash can. Simple as that. Nothing to open. They're going to throw it away. They look at it. Oh, Matt sent me something. Throw it in the garbage. Okay. It's highly effective, right? What are their flow systems? How can you help them with their flow? Daily, weekly flow. We have monthly flow, quarterly flow, and annual flow. What's an example of the annual flow? Christmas cards, right? Something that you do every year. This is part of your system, right? Super Bowl party, March Madness bracket. Those would be things that we would do for annual flow systems. Ford question cheat sheet. If you want to practice with somebody, this is in here for them to use as a write-in tool. Database and dine, right? Do we want to have a dialing party with somebody? So let's say you want to get your prospecting up and somebody's intimidated. They don't know what to say. They haven't made a lot of phone calls before. You want to help them get together and do it. By the way, this is a real bonding experience. This is like, anybody ever, if you ever played sports, you had double sessions as a kid, or you had like summer camp before the season started, you make it through that, you have a bond with somebody, you push through it, right? Anybody here ever was in the military, you go to boot camp? Sure, it's very similar. Having a dialing party is one of those experiences, right? You do that with somebody, that's a real bonding moment, that's a real connection. They will feel very guilty not using you or recommending you if you're going over with them and dialing for dollars with them. And by the way, Kate and I have both done virtual dialing parties, and that can be just as fun, meaning that we just go on Teams, share our screens, and make the phone calls together. It's having that accountability and support to get in there and do it. And also you can listen in and make some suggestions on how they can improve and get some feedback from them as well, right? Because again, if you're calling other realtors and they hear you do it, they say, hey, I wouldn't say that, or I'll say this, you might learn something. Sphere of influence, Charm and Popeyes. There's going to be a QR code for this. They will be able to take some of those Popeyes from us. These are what we call these collisions. Talk about our different collisions, how to create collisions and manufacture collisions. You guys can walk through this. So we have one for each month for January. National January 13th, which has already passed, National Rubber Ducky Day. That was one example that we can give. You can get 100 rubber duckies on Amazon for $40. You go have reason to go drop off a rubber ducky with your name on it. It can be fun. February Popeye, Valentine's Day. I don't know if you guys have heard of it before. There's different things you can drop off there, like a Valentine and some printable templates for that. And the March Popeye, for Pie Day is 3/14. You can drop off a pie for people and do something like that. Also, we have our March Madness bracket. So some suggestions there for your realtors to use, right? These are those suggestions for the realtors in your life to come up with something they can do for their potential spheres of influence and go over those things with them. We also have all of the different holidays which we have a holiday every day in this country for something. January, February, March, here are our holidays. So you guys can see those. Gives you a reason to reach out to people. So let's say you're doing your Ford conversations and you wanted the reason to reach out. Start off with Happy President's Day and kind of take it from there. Quarterly video ideas for social media. You guys can see them here. I'll share those with you guys as we go through them. And then here is, if you have somebody who's like, hey, listen, man, tell me really why I would use Princeton Mortgage. Our process to work towards our 8-day clear to closes and our Princeton promises, that's like the real good stuff. And so you might have some people who really want to know, hey, what when mortgage companies screw up a loan, what happens? You can walk them through the mortgage process and what it looks like and how we can differentiate by walking them through this. And there's some visuals here that you can see kind of on a timeline how that process works. By the way, you would be shocked how many realtors have no idea. You think they're in this industry, it's what they do for a living. You think they know, they don't know. Melanie, go ahead.
Got a quick question. So I get this objection sometimes when I talk about how quickly we do the things and I explain, what we do up front and all that. The objection I get is VA. So can somebody tell me what it's looking like with VA appraisal? I know Princeton, we can get all our stuff done and be waiting for them, but what are we seeing on those VA appraisal turn times realistically?
I mean, based on in this environment, based on my experience, no one has enough business and it's not taking very long at all. Now, if we have another, boom of refis and it gets super busy again, can VA get slowed down? Sure. All the VA appraisers are veterans and there's only specific appraisers who can do them.
Right.
But in this environment, it should not be holding up your process.
I have a realtor in Knoxville and she informed me that there's only 2 in the Knoxville area, which is kind of a busy hopping area right now. And she's saying that that's discouraging sellers from accepting a VA buyer. So I was, trying to kind of gauge that just to see if anybody had any. I think I'll just reach out to Jennifer Banahan and kind of get some stats from her. They
have a rule for VA. I think it's 5 days. They have 5 days to get the appraisal back. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a number on that and they have to get it back. Otherwise they will not be a VA appraiser anymore.
I'm aware of the rule.
10 days?
I just know that they kind of, it's 10 days, but I just know that they
10 days.
tend, from my experience, and I've been dealing with them for a long time, from my experience, they take the time that they have generally. So I was just kind of seeing how we feel about that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, your realtor's going to know their Knoxville market better than you and just say, listen, here's the thing. Yes, it may take a little bit for the appraisal, but the day we get that appraisal back, we'll be in for clear to close. And that's really, we're not going to wait on our end. We're not going to wait to get the appraisal back to get the rest of our stuff done. Right. And that's kind of how I would work through it there. Awesome. So 8-day clear to close. You can see the rest of our little chart right here, and it kind of goes on. You can see the whole loan process here. I think it's a very helpful visual for realtors to be able to see what the mortgage process looks like. Again, I think you'd be surprised how many of them have never seen something that looks like this. They don't understand it. And then we have some product highlights, down payment assistance, and cash out refis, different things like that you guys can walk through with them here. So I'm going to leave it there. What questions do we have about present? Oh, we have our featured realtor section. By the way, guys, we're always looking for more realtors. Okay. By the way, don't just give this away to anybody, right? Because by the way, when you give this to other realtors, you want to make sure the realtors you're representing are good, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say you highlight a realtor that does no business in your area, and then you meet with a realtor who does a ton of business, and they're going to see that realtor does no business in there. It's going to lose the cool factor, right? But if you have realtors that are succeeding in doing business, make sure you're nominating them for this. This is a really cool thing. Amy, by the way, has been a realtor for 3 years. She went from 10 million to 20 million to 40 million over her first 3 years as a real estate agent. She's absolutely crushing it. She was over the moon excited to have her stuff in here. Okay, this is a very cool way to, hey, who's going to get this? A bunch of other realtors in Charleston. They're going to see that we're highlighting you. That's awesome, right? They're going to feel really good about that. Whose hands are up? Stacy, go ahead.
was going to ask you a question on this. Just so I'm clear, the realtors are featured because I am doing this with someone. I'm going to try and do it. They're featured. So these realtors, this answers my question, obviously, in all of our programs across
Yes.
Princeton, not just to my branch and my location.
Yes.
Awesome. When they do it, I'm just curious the process because I kind of make them feel, I'm trying to make this one feel special, right? Which is what they all want to feel. Is somebody from Princeton trying to be official and reach out to them in interim, or are we like asking them questions? Like, you know what I'm saying? If we're debuting them, like, are they getting a little form and ask 3 questions to fill out?
Courtney, are you still here? So in my experience, there is a form, and I would call them and ask them the questions and fill out the form for them and make them feel very special that way. But you do the work.
Okay, cool. Got it. Thank you.
Now, the one thing they do need to do is tell you which picture they would like, which I would not make for
Yeah.
them.
Who do we get the form from?
Reach out to Help Me and they'll take care of you.
Gotcha.
So we have our highlighted realtors. By the way, there's always a lot of women in here. If we have any cool male realtors we want to get on here, let's get them in there for next month. We're always there. For some reason, all of our top realtors are women. So we got to represent a little. And then here's our back of the magazine is this Princeton Promise. All right, guys. So awesome. Any questions about any of this? Otherwise, do you feel you need to feel good about running out in the world and screaming from the rooftops? At least one section of this that you're going to teach people. Nikki, go ahead. You're muted. I can read your lips on that, though.
Should we be printing up some of our flyers to hand them at the same time as this book, or would that be distracting?
I would try to find a different reason to collide with this person, even if it's just stopping by their office or their open house, whatever it is, every month. And so like for this, I would probably just use this, right? And then and use it really as an act of like being very focused on giving. I think sometimes, but there's no right or wrong answer to this. If you want to give them flyers, go ahead. At the same time, what I would say is, I think the more that we can show ourselves to be disciplined and on task and thoughtful and calm and deliberate as we go through these meetings, the more attractive that we become. So in other words, I want to go in, I don't want to have a huge agenda. I don't want to have a care in the world. I'm excited about the blueprint. Hey, you know what? Like I've been giving this out to all the realtors, but there's a section here specifically for you. And we're going to role play this in 2 weeks when I come back. Not next week, but the week after, I'm going to role play it with somebody in front of you guys so that you can really see what I do with it. But I'll just real quickly right now. This section for you really stood out to me because of X, Y, Z. Let me walk you through this. I put the book in front of them. I keep one for myself. I walk through it. I show them what I'm talking about. I'm pointing to the book in front of them. And it was like, do you think about your business in this way? Do you have your database set up like this? Have you ever thought about how to do those forward conversations or those quick check-ins with your sphere of influence? How many people do you think you have in your sphere? Like whatever your questions are as you walk through that section, point it out to them and be like, listen, if this has been, and then you talk about what it's done for you. We train on the same stuff as loan officers. This particular thing I'm talking about right now has been so big for me. I think it would be radical for you and your business. I know you said your goal for the year was 20 million. This is the kind of thing that I think can help you get there. And when you make it personal like that, and again, I'm not going into a dissertation in that one-on-one meeting with somebody. I'm gauging their interest. I'm checking in. I'm asking questions. I'm staying engaged, and I'm pointing them to the things I think that are most relevant. And then I'm leaving them with the book. Then they have more questions when they go through it. Or maybe I go home and I go on YouTube and I search for some videos that support what I was teaching. Hey, this video is also awesome. It talks about that thing that we just talked about. And so I'm staying in flow of the way, but I'm really thinking about how I can add more value. This should not be high stress. You guys should be relaxed. I had a realtor, I'll just give you that real quick. I had a realtor who has done some transactions for me. So when I have investment properties, he has 50 or 60 investment properties, very smart guy. I go through him. When Rich was looking potentially at a house in Charleston, I recommended this guy. He called me for a meeting this week because I'm a client and he was doing his meetings with people that are potentially going to be clients. And his vibe was just like, everything is great, listening to me, sharing stories. By the way, always comes with one piece of advice about something. He's been watching my social media, this thing or that thing. Great. And the conversation was awesome. I left being like, man, I love that guy. You want everybody walking out of this meeting like, man, I love that lady. I love that guy, right? That's how, she's the best, right? And you're just giving and you're casual. And by the way, you're not forcing this. The blueprint is the reason to get together. And yes, you want to add value, but you're not spending a 20 minutes teaching. You're having an interactive conversation about the thing in the book. Fred, and then we got to wrap up. come over.
Also, first of all, Nikki, you're always on mute. I love it. Don't stop it. Whatever you're doing, stay on mute and talk first. So I met with a potential loan officer this morning that had all the answers, and he started whenever, and his first boss told him just meet realtors, meet realtors. This guy is dressed to the T all the time. He's the perfect candidate for a loan officer. He'll get thrown out of a real estate office and go back in the next day. Okay. He has no plan. And like what Mark is going over right now with these trainings Wednesday and Thursday, this blueprint, which I've dove in a few. I didn't do as much as I should, but my goal of this quarter is the next one to go into it. Like this is our plan. This is like Mark just said, be relaxed. Like there's no reason to be scared with this. Like we're all first timers at going over this stuff. Like this is the plan. Like this guy's mind was blown. And it's that easy. And we all can get a business card or friend somebody on Facebook or Instagram. I'm old. I don't even know what Instagram is. But like, this is what separates, and just like, this is opening up the door. You just need to walk through it. And like, I'm not trying to like push Mark. He's, I'm more handsome, my better hair, but like, this is it. This is like why we came here, and we have to take advantage of it. And like, if it's not on your weekly goals, your scorecard, if you're doing it, like, we're already motivated, and we're setting you guys up to thrive. And this is like, just go with it. That's all. I'm pumped. I'm fired up.
I think that was a great closeout, Fred. I appreciate the support, and I think you're right. And I appreciate you guys all coming out for these trainings, getting ready to do this again. These blueprints will be delivered to you next week. When I'm out next week, we will have training for 2 days. They're going to be great. Rich is doing one. And then I think Courtney or Jen is doing the other, but we'll send out some stuff for that. But come to the trainings next week. They're going to be great. And then when I come back the following week, we're going to do a role play for this based on Nick's suggestion, where we're going to hop in and I'll show you guys how I have some of these conversations as well. But don't wait for me to get started, guys. Go out there, do it, get it rolling. Appreciate everybody. Happy selling. Please rate the meeting.
Thank you.
And again, hope you guys know what you took away from this, but if you have questions, you know where to find me.